We are currently in the Aseret Yemei Teshuva, right between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the 10 days of repentance. And there's a general idea that we should try to do better, right? It's a very serious time for very delicate time, right? Especially right before Yom Kippur. And so we wanna improve. And the thing is, if we don't latch on to some specific concept, then often our energy will just dissipate with time. We'll just be like, okay, trying to do better, not really sure at what. So Rav Bernstein wants to introduce these two classic ideas brought by our commentators that people should generally work on at this time. And the two are patience and kindness. I'm going to skip patience for this year, and we'll focus on kindness. So as a general idea, right, in a general sense, there's a concept of mida keneged mida, right, measure for measure. So if we deal kindly with other people, HaKadosh Baruch will deal kindly with us. But Rav Bernstein wants to introduce the comments of Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik in order to flesh out this idea, to deepen the idea a bit more. So, as an introduction, the Gemara tells us that different sins require different atonement treatments, right, in order to gain atonement. And so, at a basic level, there are some sins that just Teshuva alone will wipe those sins out. But then there's a second category, right, that requires not only Teshuva but also Yom Kippur in order to be mechaper for those averas. And then finally, thirdly, sometimes there are some sins that are so grave that they require Teshuva and Yom Kippur and even Yisurin, suffering, in order to achieve atonement. Now, on basic level, there's a certain level, of course, of punishment that comes with these averas. However, Rav Soloveitchik wants to introduce another possible element here. That is to say, even though it's true that there is divine retribution here, there's also a certain element of mercy. And even though there is mercy, it's not fully divorced from the midah of justice, right? And in the way we see this is that it is possible, right, for sometimes for a person to commit a sin that is so grievous that he's actually forfeited his right to exist. He's forfeited his life. Now, why is that? The answer to that is, in the purest of terms, man was created in order to fulfill the divine will. We're supposed to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And if we've strayed so far from that will, then we've forfeited our right to exist, because the whole reason why we exist is to do what he wants, and we've gone so far from that we've just lost it. Now, the problem is, if we say, okay, so a person is doing tshuva, and he wants to reacquire his right to exist, we say, okay, so in order to make a trade, right, in order to purchase his right to exist, he needs to give something of equal value. The sensitive point here, though, is that in order to reacquire his right to life, the only thing he has that's worth that value is life, which, by definition, becomes a serious problem because he can't trade his actual life in order to reacquire it. So what do we do? So it says Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik like this. The attribute of mercy here comes in to actually help us out, because often, right, and I learned this in contracts class, in order to effect a trade, you need consideration, right, something in exchange, but it doesn't always need to be of equal value. Like, for example, let's say you're going to buy a new car that's worth $25,000, and for some reason you're able to convince the dealer to give it to you for $8,000. Well, guess what? The trade is a trade. He can come after, right? People have the right to contract, and therefore, if you've given $8,000, even though it's only a third of its value, the trade works, right? The kinyan, the sale, is effective. So too here, it is possible to trade something for much less value than it's worth, even for minimal value, even a pruta, right? The smallest unit of currency, well, is enough in order to effect an exchange. And so, applying that concept to us, how does that help us? Because when a person sins, right, when a person does an avera, then that's really serious. He's forfeited his right to life. Now, the thing is, when yisurim come in, right, yisurim are punishments. People don't like to be punished. It hurts, and therefore it takes away some of his quality of life. When a person sees somebody who's sad and getting crushed, they don't think like, wow, that person looks so lively. He doesn't look lively. He looks sad and upset, and he's lost some of his liveliness. He's lost some of his quality of life, and in that way, it actually does come to be exchanged. And this will actually help us also appreciate the value of kindness, because says Rav Bernstein in his sefer, it's not only that Yisurin could affect atonement, right, can affect this kapara, but also doing kindness for other people can do that. It could actually remove the need for Yisurin. Why is that? Because not only do Yisurin just as Yisurin makes someone lose some of their quality of life, so too doing kindness for others makes them gain some of their quality of life. It adds to their quality of life. And in that way, he's actually he's made a purchase, he's used some life currency in order to be mechaper for his own averas, right? He needs to pay with his life. Well, if he adds on to the life of others by doing kindness for someone else, then he no longer has need of Yisurim. We'll end with it there. Have a Gmar Chatzma Tova, and obviously Shabbat Shalom.